Hello everyone, I'm Zach the Movie Fan. So you know how a couple days ago for my birthday I looked at my 10 favorite horror films? Well, now I'm going to torture myself because we're going to be looking at all the remakes of my favorite horror films. This is gonna be fun. Ugh. Now, all joking aside, this is mostly out of morbid curiosity. I just find it amusing that a majority of my favorite horror films have gotten remakes, and that they're considered the worst remakes ever made. And I haven't seen a lot of them. I mean, the movies I'm going to cover I have seen. But but I'm pretty sure a majority of them I have not seen, or if I have seen, I haven't seen them in years, and would like to watch them again to see if my opinion has changed. So, we're going to take it from the top with The Hitcher. But yeah. Oh, one last thing before you start. The only remakes that I will not uh, cover in this marathon are the two remakes of Black Christmas. I won't. I want to save those for around December. I don't know if I'm going to cover both of them in December of this year, or just one of them and then tackle another for next year. But regardless, the two Black Christmas remakes will not be featured. Every other horror film on my list that got a remake is free game. So let's begin. The remake of The Hitcher was released in 2007 and was produced by Platinum Dunes, a production company that is quite infamous among horror fans in the early 2000s. Platinum Dunes was a production company created by Michael Bay. Yeah, that Michael Bay. Michael, I love explosions to death, Bay. And I will admit, Michael Bay's reasonings for creating Platinum Dunes is surprisingly heartfelt. Michael Bay created Platinum Dunes with the sole intent of helping new up-and-coming filmmakers get their foot in the door. Which, I'm not gonna lie, is not something I expected from Michael Bay. Maybe it's because this is the same Michael Bay that's made horribly offensive films like Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen or Pain and Gain. But I legit did not expect him to actually do something this decent at all. I mean, hey, people can surprise you. The only downside, though, is that instead of Michael Bay allowing these new filmmakers to make anything new or original, he handed them scripts to remake a lot of beloved horror films. And that's all we got for a lot of them, and people kept falling for it as they were incredibly successful. Hell, I think their remake of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre made like shitloads of money and even has a record in terms of highest grossing slasher films. I could be wrong though, you could feel free to correct me in the comments below. But yeah. It was that very, very dark age where suddenly garbage films were getting millions. It was similar to the Twilight series, the Transformers series, or the Transformers movies, I mean, or the 50 Shades of Grey trilogy. These garbage dumpster fire films that somehow made millions. Although I will admit, I find it odd that Platinum Dunes decided to remake The Hitcher. I mean, as bad as their other remakes were, at least they were remakes of popular horror films that everyone knew. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the Amityville Horror, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street. Like, those are all popular horror films. The Hitcher, not so much. Yes, it's garnered a cult following over the years, but it's nowhere near as popular as those other ones. So why they thought a remake of The Hitcher would make them bank is beyond me. But regardless, we got a remake of The Hitcher. And yeah, it's garbage. It's pretty damn bad. And it's actually why I'm starting with this one, because this one is not going to take that much time at all. This this is just something I can easily get done and over with and never talk about again. So let's just do that. This remake pretty much follows almost the exact same plot as the original. There's very little that has changed here. Um in fact, you can count the changes they made on like one hand. It's a couple. It's a couple this time instead of a single guy that the Hitcher is stalking. It's the male character that gets killed with the semi trucks instead of the female character. There's some dialogue that's new. One scene is altered differently. We'll get to that. Um, I think that's it. That's all I can think of off the top of my head. A lot of the rest of this is just the same as the original, but done badly. Alright, as you can see here, it says the movie begins with this text saying, according to the U.S. Department of Transportation, an estimated 42,000 people are killed on highways every year. Now, for all I know, that statistic could be true, but the movie makes it seem like a majority of that is contributed to hitchhikers. I doubt that. This movie was released in 2007. I'm pretty sure a majority of that statistic is probably held by drunk drivers. And if you look at it nowadays, it's probably more contributed to texting and driving. In fact, I actually did look it up, and as expected, studies show that, like, the chances of getting killed by a hitchhiker, especially today, is extremely low, and in fact, studies show that that hitchhikers actually become victims, not the other way around. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure that statistic is bullshit. Now, sure, you could call this nitpicking, but like, if we're going to bring out a statistic like that, like, it should be a statistic that at least makes sense. You know, The Strangers actually started with a similar statistic involving home invasions, but at least there that makes sense. I can see home invasions being a common thing around the entire world, especially in the U.S. I mean, I'm just saying, if you're going to pick a statistic in your movie, at least be smart about it. Like, this is just like throwing shit in there because you think, ooh, people will look at that statistic and be frightened. When any logical person would be like, I'm pretty sure that's more drunk drivers' faults than hitchhikers. Yeah. But before I rip into this movie, let me talk about a few of the positives I have, which aren't a lot. One positive is, well, a lot of the casting in this is no names. The only real well-known actor in this film is Sean Bean playing the Hitcher. And I will give credit, that was a fantastic choice. I will admit, I'm not the biggest Sean Bean fan, although granted, I haven't seen a lot of his more popular roles. I've never seen Game of Thrones. The only Sean Bean films I've seen is he played 006 in GoldenEye, and he was Boromir in the Lord of the Rings trilogy, but that's really about it. Um, but I have heard from a lot of people that he is a really talented and good actor. And and getting him to play the Hitcher makes sense. Like, he has a history of playing villains and can be intimidating. Casting him to play the Hitcher is actually a great choice. But similar to Jackie Earle Haley as Freddy Krueger, what sounds good on paper is not good in execution, but we'll get to that later. The only other thing I liked in this film um, is the scene of the Hitcher attacking the cops on the road. Um, That's not because it's, like, shot better than the original. In fact, the editing in this film really isn't that good. But because this scene in the remake is a bit of fun, because for some reason, in the remake, they play this scene to the song Closer by Nine Inch Nails. I don't listen to a lot of Nine Inch Nails, but I absolutely fucking love the song Closer. Not only is it like a legit disturbing song, but it is a surprising banger. Um, and it's not, and this obviously isn't the only film to use the song. Uh, Probably the most well known use of the song was in the opening of the film Seven, which granted that version was very much altered, but still. This song does work and is fitting for an action scene in terms of its beats. It does make the scene fun. It doesn't fit the tone at all, but at least it's something. And that is it. That is literally every positive I have for this movie. Everything else in this movie is hot garbage. Even the positives it has aren't really positives. Yeah, casting Sean Bean as the Hitcher was a good choice, but they literally give him like 90% of the same dialogue as Rutger Hauer. So what's the fucking point if you cast a different actor to play the character? It's still like it's still the same dialogue, it's still the same character. You did nothing to make him feel different from the original in any meaningful way. So what was the fucking point of casting him in this? You could have just got Rutger Hauer back and have the same effect. God, I fucking hate remakes that do that. They get a legit good actor to play a character, but they don't allow them to really bring anything different or unique. Like, what's the fucking point of casting a different actor then? Yeah, and the police, but yeah, and the car chase scene I mentioned. Yeah, I like the song Closer by Nine Inch Nails, and yes, pointing to an action scene is fun, but it really goes against the tone that The Hitcher is supposed to have. The Hitcher is supposed to be a suspenseful as hell horror thriller. I mean, yeah, there were car chase scenes, but in the original, they were intense as hell. And because of how chaotic and all over the place they were. They felt like real car chases between police officers and criminals. Here, they just turn it into an action car chase scene. Might as well just make this like an action scene in one of the Fast and the Furious films. Yeah, everything else about this movie sucks. The acting in this is not very good. Like, the two main leads, they suck. Like, they go through the effort of, like, making the Hitcher go after this couple instead of just one guy. I'm not a huge fan of that choice because you take out a lot of what made the back and forth between Jim and the Hitcher interesting. Because it was just, like, mainly two people, it felt like a massive cat and mouse chase. By making it a couple instead, it really just kind of weakens that effect, I feel. I mean, even with the boyfriend being killed off and the girlfriend Grace, I think her name is, becoming the main character, it literally is like the last half of the movie. And it really doesn't feel justified or earned. I barely know anything about this woman, like, at all. So you change it so where it's like the female character that like lives, and it's the boyfriend that gets the axe, but what's the point? It doesn't add fucking anything to the movie. But yeah. Like, a lot of the acting really isn't that great. Even Sean Bean in this movie, I mean, I don't know if it's the direction or whatever, but he's never intimidating in the slightest, especially compared to Rutger Hauer in the original. You see, this is what I'm saying. This is why giving him the same fucking dialogue as the original was a dumb idea. because nobody can top how scary and intimidating Rutger Hauer was as this character. So just getting another talented actor to just repeat the same lines doesn't have the same effect. Because when you hear that same dialogue, you're just gonna see Rutger Hauer. It's dumb. It was, God. Also, this may be a slight nitpick, but I really hated how they changed the sheriff character from the original. Yeah, in the original there was this one sheriff or chief police or whatever, police chief whatever, who always kind of believed that Jim was innocent the entire time, and throughout the film was always trying to get him to turn himself in peacefully so they could sort the whole mess out. It was just that the Hitcher kept getting in the way and fucking things over. In this movie, however, the same character is here, but he's now a police lieutenant, and he is now a southern asshole. He's not sympathetic at all. He's just full. These people are responsible. Hunt them down. God damn it! That's literally his. They just completely remove so much of what made that original character likable. It of course doesn't help that he's a fucking dumbass too. By the end of the film, when the guy's trapped in a car, the Hitcher grabs a shotgun and is about to blow his head off, and he just says, "Go fuck yourself." Now, doesn't try to dodge or move out of the way. No, he just says, "Go fuck yourself," and he gets his head blown off. This guy's a police lieutenant. The editing in the film is pretty piss poor too. I don't know what it is, but the car stunts in this film feel so weak. And I think a lot of it is because of the editing. The editing is more energetic, if that makes sense, and more fast paced. It really feels more like this guy was making an action movie or a music video or something rather than making a suspense thriller. And a lot of that was probably because the film was done by a music video director. Really? This is a fantastic horror film, and instead of giving it to someone who could maybe turn it into something decent, you hand it to a fucking music video director. Just why? Yeah. Oh, I forgot there's one more change that they make. They fucked up the truck scene. Okay, spoilers for the original The Hitcher. In the original The Hitcher, towards the end, Jim gets this woman, played by, I believe, Jennifer Jason Leigh, to basically help him. Her name is Pam, and she's basically this waitress, and she's really only tagging along because she truly believes that Jim is innocent. The Hitcher sneaks into the motel room they're staying at, and he kidnaps Pam and hooks her between two semi-trucks. Jim gets into the truck that the Hitcher is in, and the Hitcher tells him, "If you want her to live, you're gonna have to shoot me." Jim couldn't bring himself to do it, so the Hitcher lets off the brakes, and Pam gets split in half as they cut away. The thing is, in the original, they did not show the grisly details. They didn't really show any of it. Because you don't need to. You know what happened to her. Your imagination creates a much more horrifying image than actually seeing it. I heard that the studio did a lot of cuts for the film, mostly due to a lot of the gratuitous gore. I am very pro letting the artist have his vision, but this is one of the few times where I think it helps the film. Because you don't see a lot of the grisly bits in the original, your imagination does a lot more of the work, and creates a much more frightening image in your head. In the remake, however, they show the gore. Why? That's not scary, that's not interesting, that's just sick and fucking twisted. It also doesn't fit the tone at all. Yeah, there were deaths in this film, but they were nowhere near, like, on par with something like Wolf Creek or Hostel. So why suddenly go for bullshit shock value like this when it doesn't even fit the tone of your fucking movie? Yeah. And that's really, like, all I can really say about this movie, because 90% of it is the same as the original, just done horribly. I mean, it just feels like such a pointless remake. Like, this is the worst kind of remake, in my opinion. The kind of remake that didn't even have the balls to do something different or unique. They just said, fuck it, and copied the original. I hate laziness like that. Like, a lot of people bitch about the remake of Child's Play for all the changes it made from the original. You know what? At least it had the balls to make those changes. At least the people that made the film realized they couldn't top the original, so they went in their own direction. I have much more respect for a film that has the balls to do something different than lazy bullshit like this. Like, I just can't stand this movie. It's a pointless waste of a remake that's nowhere near as good as the original. And it sucks. There's not even that much to talk about. That's how much of a waste of space this piece of shit is. It's a pointless remake that has no reason to exist and just does everything worse than the original. The remake of The Hitcher gets an F. It's a failure of a film. It's a failure of a remake. It's an epic fail all around. Don't fucking bother. Just go watch the original. Yes, it's not streaming anywhere. Yes, it's a bit more of a pain in the ass to find. But it's a much more better and satisfying film. Don't watch this piece of shit remake. It's not worth your time. Ugh. And we're just getting started. We got a lot more coming. Oh god. So, the remake of The Hitcher, have you guys seen it? What did you think of it? Did you hate it like I did? Let me know down in the comments below. If you like what you see here, like, comment, and subscribe if you'd like to see more. That's all I got. See ya.